Hello and welcome to India Revival Mission, a program in which we are committed to debate, deliberate, discuss and bring out factors which will help India revive. At a time when global growth, the manufacturing sector, the agriculture sector has contracted, what are the right things with the administration and companies they need to do to bring the growth engine back on track, and what really could kindle that demand wheel once again? To discuss that, I have with me Dr. Pawan Goenka, and today he joins us in a different capacity. Mr. Goenka is part of the committee which is working very closely with the government to ensure that the Indian manufacturing sector really gets a booster shot. Mr. Goenka, thank you for joining us. It's always a delight to have you on ET Now. Mr. Goenka, now the problems of the Indian manufacturing sector need no introduction. Everybody knows the problem, whether it is land, labor or government policies. The fact that this time the government is trying to follow a model of self-reliance, how differentiated do you think the approach this time could be? Because it's not for the first time attempts to revive the manufacturing sector have been attempted. Do you think this time A, it's different, and B, do you think this time government is really committed?
First of all, there is no doubt in my mind that there is a renewed interest, renewed focus in the government, in all departments of government, to focus on manufacturing and bring manufacturing in the forefront. Okay. Though we have talked about manufacturing for quite some time, but the kind of thrust that we see now, at least I think from where I sit, that this thrust has not been seen before. So I'm very happy about that, obviously. Second, this committee that you talked about, actually, we have been working informally from early April, just when COVID-19 hit us and the lockdown started. The thought came that should we somehow be able to take advantage of the lockdown and advantage of the anti-China sentiment at that time. Having said that, there is no easy solution. If there was an easy solution, it would have been done. So let me back off and first say that there are many who think that we have missed the bus in manufacturing. I don't believe so. I don't believe so, even though there are some new manufacturing hubs coming up, such as in Vietnam, such as in Cambodia, and so on. But I don't think we have missed the bus, because we have something that many of these countries don't have, which is a very large domestic market. And once you have a very large domestic market, to be able to create products, manufacture products for export becomes that much more easier versus just depending on export. So we have not missed the bus. But there's a lot that needs to be done. Needs to be done by the industry and the government working together. And the kind of dialogue that's happening now between the various sectors of the industry and different line ministries is something that I believe will lead to outcome that we all are looking for. Now, what the committee has done is, or even from before the committee was formed, that we have identified 12 sectors in the first round and had lots of consultations with the industry first. And after the industry came to some kind of alignment and agreement on what needs to be done, to present those to various departments in the government, again led by Mr. Piyush Goyal, where he himself chaired many meetings and called in his colleagues from different ministries to listen to the view of the industry and then start acting. And I'm very happy to say that the kind of actions that are happening now, it's not just words, because there are a lot of people who ask me that, is it déjà vu? Is it something where government is going to talk about things and nothing will happen? I don't think so. I think we have started seeing already in a very short time some of the things that are changing, that are being implemented, what the industry had asked for. So let me kind of take some examples of what can happen. Room air conditioner, something that has been mentioned in the past. It's 25,000 crore industry today. It can easily go to a 1 lakh crore industry. But more importantly, there's only 20% value addition happening in the 25,000 crore industry. In 1 lakh crore industry, we want to get 80% value addition. That means we can add 75,000 crore of manufacturing value addition just in room air conditioner. Auto imports. We import $15 billion worth of auto components. If we can reduce that by half in 3 years, that is 65,000 crore. Auto export, we export about 15 billion again. If you double that in 5 years, that's 1.1 lakh crore.
Mr. Goenka, having said that, each country has an edge. For example, India is great in IT services, not great in IT products. China is great in manufacturing, not great in areas of largely skill development. So while we are trying to kindle the entire manufacturing sector and reboot the local manufacturing sector, what about the availability of talent? What about skill? And what about the inherent and intrinsic advantage?
I was to put a single line. What is the task? The task, single line, is we have to make Indian manufacturing competitive. Okay. Now, we often talk about having low-cost labor, and therefore we are competitive, but that's not so. I'll give you a very ordinary example of footwear. Okay. If a footwear costs 100 rupees to make in China, it costs 120 rupees to make in India. Why is that? Our leather is about 4 rupees more expensive. Our other material that goes into shoes, soles, buckles, heels, 7 rupees more expensive. Land, electricity, statutory compliances cost us 5 rupees more. And cost of money adds another 3 or 4 rupees, though our labor saves us about 3 rupees. So the point here is that no matter which industry you look at, you will find that our total cost of manufacturing often is not competitive. Now, we can put artificial barriers of import duty, licensing, but these are not solutions. These will not make us competitive for export because that will only create an extra higher cost for import, which does not help us in export competitiveness. And therefore, I think licensing and tariff barriers should be used, if at all, I say if at all, only as a temporary measure to give the Indian industry some time to become competitive. Now, why are we not competitive? So first of all, let's say that being competitive doesn't mean that we do everything ourselves. It'll be foolhardy to say that I'm going to make every nail, every screw, every piece of whatever goes into the final product. We have to plug into the global supply chain. Sometimes we receive intermediate materials from other places and make the finished good. Sometimes we provide intermediate materials to others and let them make the finished good. So it has to be part of an overall ecosystem, which is not just an Indian ecosystem, but a global ecosystem where we are an integral part of. Okay? Today, unfortunately, India is not a part of such ecosystem in a very big way. And we have sort of 3 buckets of issues that I would talk about, which makes us non-competitive.
So, Mr. Goenka, what are the 3 factors which need to be addressed right now so that we can this time make a meaningful impact in kickstarting the manufacturing sector, both at a scale and at local level? What needs to be addressed? Because we can get into a complexity and a web of problems. But what do you think are the three factors? If they are addressed tomorrow morning, manufacturing will start in next 1 quarter.
So let's put 3 buckets of issues. And the first bucket, I would say, relate to commerce. Many countries give hidden export benefits. More importantly, China, which do not come under sort of the WTO radar, and they get away with it. India is very WTO compliant and does not do anything, and therefore sometimes we have a disadvantage in our exported goods in pricing. there is lack of FTAs to get preferred duty in our export. There are many things that we export where Indian goods have to pay 5%, 7%, 10% duty, and goods coming from other countries, many other countries don't pay that much duty or pay no duty at all. And we have a reverse problem on import, that there are too many FTAs that allow zero duty import, making Indian-made goods non-competitive. So this is something that doesn't have an easy solution, but something that we have to look at as to where do we want to become more competitive in terms of commerce and try and get preferential treatment, and where we are going to compromise, because to get something, you have to give up something. And therefore, if we want to get preferential treatment in one sector, we have to, in return, give a preferential treatment to other country, our partner, in another sector. And this, again, has been discussed a lot with the Commerce Ministry by the industry, and they are very sensitive to it, and they're working on it. But at the same time, they're also saying that FTAs cannot happen overnight. It takes time, which we understand. So that's one bucket of problems. The second bucket of problem is the structural cost that we have. Now, our industrial power, for example, as everybody knows, is more expensive than domestic residential power, agriculture power, because of cross-subsidy. Now, that becomes a heavy cost burden on the industry. Again, well recognized and not clear what the solution is. Government is working on it. Our logistic cost, everybody knows our logistic costs are 10, 15, 20% higher than logistic cost in China, in Europe, in USA. Again, very well recognized. Government is working on it. Not yet clear exactly what needs to be done. Regulatory costs in India are somewhat higher than regulatory costs in many other countries, and cost of money is obviously always a problem, though recently with all the rate cuts, it's somewhat more manageable, but otherwise cost of money is a huge problem. So that's the second issue, structural cost, that makes our manufactured goods more expensive. The third one, I would say, is the mindset. The mindset of the industry itself. How aspirational is the industry? Are we happy to get 5%, 7%, 8% growth every year? Or are we looking sort of a very big jump to become globally meaningful, globally significant in whichever sector we are in? We don't have this scale. The kind of, in many industries, the scale that we have, you compare that to scale in China, even Vietnam now, you would find that we are way behind. And in many of these manufactured goods, if you don't have a scale, you cannot get the cost advantage. So that's something that we really have to work on. Electronic component is a very good example of not having a scale. And therefore, we end up importing almost every hardware of electronic component that goes into the end product. Quality. Our quality bar is kind of too low. And if our products that we sell in India are not of very high quality, then product that we export cannot be of very high quality. And the industry really has to put a thrust on, in fact, asking government of India to increase the quality bar so that we are forced to make higher quality product, no matter what it is, and then be able to export them.
Mr. Goenka, one of the reasons why China has emerged as a successful manufacturing behemoth is because of the policies. You know, for example, if you go to China, there is a town dedicated to furniture production. The entire ecosystem is created there. There's a town which is created for only production of handbags. There is a town which is created only for the production of white goods. In India, it's very difficult to replicate that model because that model is perhaps a very big competitive edge which China enjoys. Big companies are still able to get enough and more approvals from the state government and the central government. But if the manufacturing sector has to progress, then approvals have to be far easier and far easier at the MSME and SME level.
Well, see, you have hit the nail right on one of the issues that we are facing today. So let me say that the recommendation that we have made from the furniture group and from the footwear group is exactly the same. We need to create large furniture park or furniture hub, and we need to create large footwear cluster. Okay? There are many that exist, but they are kind of not all-encompassing. We have to create something all-encompassing. For example, when a large buyer of furniture comes in to buy furniture in India, he or she needs to get to one place where they can look at everything that's possible, put their order, and they're done. They can design, they can have scale that they need. So we are looking at that. In fact, we have identified 2 possible locations for a furniture hub. We have identified 1 location for footwear hub cluster. Good thing is, Nikunj, that just like how the central government is renewing their thrust on manufacturing, so are the states. And whoever I call to seek their interest in doing any of these things, you won't believe that they follow up. I don't follow up, and which was not the case a few years ago. And I'm happy to see the kind of desire that the states have on how do we bring in more investment, more jobs, right? Again, what will happen though when it really comes down to it, that when if you're going to create a furniture hub, and if we say, well, 500 acres is too much land, it's going to take 10 years to use it, and therefore let's start with 50 acres. That won't work. We have to think long term. And this is where government has to come in, because government probably has to do a little bit of, viability funding or viability gap funding, because we will have to put in some infrastructure in a hub that the private players may not be able to justify given the kind of timeline. And again, all of these are being talked about. Government is quite willing to look at these things as long as it's very clear that the industry is also putting their money where their mouth is and making commitment to grow the kind of thing. So to create a one-stop, all-encompassing furniture hub, to create a one-stop, all-encompassing footwear cluster, are 2 of the ideas that we have in these 2 sectors that we're working on, and made quite a bit of progress on that. But if we turn around to a different situation, like let's say electronic component, there the issue is not about clusters and hubs. There the issues are different. So the point here again is that there's not a single thing that we can say that if we fix this, then everything gets fixed. There are different things that we have to work on in each of the sectors, and I keep repeating that I personally am very enthused right now to see the kind of interest in the industry, the kind of interest in the central government, and the kind of interest in the state government to make it happen.
All right, Mr. Goenka, thank you for your wonderful insights, and thank you for joining once again. That's it on this edition of The Market. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for watching the show. Stay tuned. The Prime Minister is expected to speak at 11 o'clock. So live coverage of the Prime Minister's speech right after this short break.